I'm here in a closing mall of Chile. Now, this is part 2 of what I think about Chile. Part 1 received a little bit of backlash because people were saying I don't know what I'm talking about. I travel all around the world. This is pt.2. I do have a very vast knowledge of general regions of the world, especially Latin America. It's very beefy here. Oh God. And these are my opinions based on professional traveling. I'm a professional traveler, and the only way to really understand a place and to really describe a place is to compare it to neighbors and historical roots. Nothing in this world is original, and that's something that I've learned throughout the years. Walking through Chile, we're walking through a mall. Now, Chile is one of the most commercialized countries I've ever been to. Let's go ahead and see if we can exit through here. There's like a little, I don't know what they're doing here. I think the exit is over there. It's about 9:30 p.m. here in Chile. It's summertime. The sun goes down at 8:30 p.m. We are pretty far down south. And let's just talk about my general trip. Now, I said I was going to go ahead and update you guys on my friend who did the tour of Torres del Paine. He paid $1,500, $1,500 USD to go on a 3-day trek through Torres del Paine. He did the W trek. So the W is basically 3 days of going up and back. Day 1, you go up and back. Day 2, you go up and back. Day 3, you go up and back, essentially. Oh, by the way, look, we're in one of the restaurant areas. This is very typical across Latin America. You know, you have these in your business districts. We have something pretty cool up there. We have a dude swagging out. Absolute aura farming here in Chile. It's probably one of the best things I've seen so far. Chile is not a festive country. You don't come to Chile to feel any sort of festive spirit, unless it's September, is what they tell me, when there's a lot of nationalistic pride. Chile, unlike their neighbors, is very much influenced by global culture. So the origins of Chile are kind of boring, but correct. They are boring and correct, if you had to just put it bluntly. Chile was a Spanish outpost. There wasn't much interest in Chile for the longest time. The Spanish in the 1500s focused heavily on Peru, Bolivia. They focused a lot on Mexico after. They did not focus on Chile. There just wasn't any gold here. There wasn't much here. It's dry, it's arid. Just the stuff that the Spanish were looking for just wasn't here. Chile saw a boom in the 1800s when a lot of Europeans moved here. Actually, a lot of Palestinians moved here as well, not for reasons of the of Israel. They moved here primarily because of the fall of the Ottoman Empire. So they actually came here before Israel was a state. So that's why there's like 200 to 400,000 Palestinian original like genetics here. You'll talk to someone and they'll be like, yeah, my great grandfather was Palestinian, stuff like that. So their beginnings were actually sort of solid. They were a military outpost, very much a militarized country. They had a constant war with, I believe it's called the Malbec people. I'm saying that wrong, but there's this group in the south that's super resilient, this indigenous group that even the Incans couldn't conquer. And they had these wars with them for a long time, so they were incredibly militarized. Santiago, the capital, was initially a fortified city. Like the first parts of Santiago were incredibly fortified, and that's just how they started. So they started like that. Now, Argentina, it's on the other side of the Andes Mountains. If you look at Chile on the map, there's Chile, and then there's Argentina. Argentina had sort of similar roots, a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more flavor in there. But Argentina as well was this outpost, not too much interest from the vice royalties in the 15, 16, 1700s. 1800s come around, and a lot of Europeans start moving. A lot of Ottoman Empire people start moving here, like the Palestinians, as I said, from Bethlehem. These are Christian Palestinians, by the way. And Chile starts to develop. They bring in a lot of Brits, a lot of British people here to help build railroads, just like in Argentina as well, very similar. Here's where things start to differ with Argentina and Chile. So with Argentina, there's a lot more volatile. It's a lot more of a volatile country. Chile was a lot more stable. Chile in the 1970s chose to be, well, did they choose to be, or was it forced? It was an authoritarian regime that imposed libertarian economic policy. What is this? So libertarian economic policy is essentially favoring the free market over socialist ideals. So in socialism, there's a lot of state ownership of rents, of resources. They privatized a lot of the country. Now, this resulted in one of the most successful, you could call it a project. It was like sort of an experiment. I'm still doing research on this with the Chicago boys. If you look at Milton Friedman, a big advocate and actually a founder of the libertarian economic movement. This resulted in the most successful economy in Latin America because the free market was able to do what it's supposed to do. This was at the cost of humanitarian rights, because in order to impose these economic policies, a lot of the time you would have to silence leftists, you would have to silence communists and socialists, and that is not free speech. You know, if you are in a country, everyone should have a say, but you know, there were people that were killed, a couple thousand, 3,000 over a course of 20 years. There's been worse. But as a result, Chile positioned itself as the strongest economy in Latin America. Was it worth it? It depends on who you ask. I'm not Chilean. I don't think this policy impacted their culture. I think regardless of what their economic policy was, their country was going to lack that pizzazz, that spirit that you find in other Latin American countries, just because of their roots. The roots aren't like Argentina, where you have all these Italians moving there, and you know, there's just this Italian spirit that really gave Argentina life. It's not like Mexico, where you know, they had this empire that had like super particular customs and art. It's not like like Peru as well, which is you can make a lot of comparisons with Mexico. It's not like that. They were always a little bit more, I don't want to say dull, but they didn't have the same spirit as the other Latin American countries from the get-go. Their economy, on the other hand, very much different. And when I speak to the Chileans, and I've been trying so hard, you guys, to understand Chilean culture. I've been asking so many Chileans, like, what's your culture? And they're like, don't ask me, I don't know. like don't try Chilean food. I had this one Chilean Uber driver say, like, don't try Chilean food, it's bad. But then people in the comments on my Instagram, which you should follow me on Instagram if you don't, pt.2, they have a lot to say, like, oh, we do have so much culture, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'm not here saying that you don't have culture. I'm just saying there's not as much pizzazz or spirit to be found. So going back to Torres del Paine, my friend did the $1,500 tour, and from what it sounded like, it was super low value. And I spoke to a few other people. I spoke to a German who does trekking all across the world. He has done New Zealand, the Himalayas, Swiss Alps. He said this was the most expensive trekking tour he's ever done. He doesn't regret it because it was on his bucket list, but he just said it was super freaking expensive for what you got. And my friend said it was like very, very low value because it was disorganized. You get like bad food, and it's basic lodging for $1,500, 3 nights. it's up to you. If you want to check it off your box. Also, another argument I make is I don't think it should see more tourists. I don't think Torres del Paine should see that many tourists because it's a super fragile ecosystem. In the summer, it's incredibly dry and windy. High winds, super windy. First of all, it's uncomfortable. Second of all, it's a super high fire risk. Right now, I'm walking through a park, their best park in the city. And yeah, you can just see, like, this is what Chile is. These office buildings, that's Chile. We even have Deloitte here. It's a business country. This is Friday night. Let's see if there's anything going on down here. Here, let's walk around. We're walking down. And by the way, I don't edit these videos. It's just like one shot. If I stutter, if I make a mistake, I don't edit it out. So it looks like we have some fun here. I mean, it's 10 p.m. People are sitting down. These are like some bars. I would expect something like this. Of course, there's no one dancing. It's sort of like Brazil, where you sit at your own table with your own friends, and then maybe you can, like, I don't know, meet up with some friends. That's about it. This is a nice area. Maybe we should go up the steps. I'm going on the way back to my apartment. So ultimately, what I'm getting at here, and I'm almost finishing my point. So I've been to Dubai, where you get this, but with a beach. You get this with a beach. Like, you get all of this with the beach. And it's literally the same price. Like, Dubai is the same price as Santiago. Maybe the housing, not as much, but the food, like, I got lunch, and it was like $40 for bad lunch. In Dubai, I could get really good lunch for $20. I have to be careful with my phone because people get robbed all the time. Maybe this lady's gonna snatch my phone. Anyways, what I'm getting at here is Chile is super low value for tourism. Don't come here for tourism is what I'm saying. Their ecosystem is super fragile in the south, and that's probably the case with Patagonia on the Argentine side. I've only been to Bariloche and Puerto Madryn in Argentina. The ecosystem seemed a little bit more stable there, but Torres del Paine, I could just tell it's super fragile. It's really dark here, guys. You can't see anything. Oh gosh. Oh, you can't even see my face. Oh gosh. So dangerous. No, it's not that dangerous. They close this park at 9 p.m. and I guess they open up this little section so you can walk through. This park is incredible, by the way. If you come to Chile and you need to stop by for a few days, which you might have to because the flights to Santiago, by the way, LATAM Airlines is based here, which is the best airline in Latin America. I'll give Chile that. They have the best airline by far. LATAM Airlines is based here. Chile, actually, their airport, international airport in Santiago, is one of the best airports in the world, as in the flights leave on time, highest percentage. So the flights here are super cheap, much cheaper than flying into Buenos Aires because of their free market policies. So that's something that I need to take my hat off for with Chile. They are really, really good at economics, far more stable than their neighbors. Now, when we walk through the city, this neighborhood, Las Condes, this is where you will want to stay. Listen. It's so quiet. This is the quietest Latin American country I've ever been to. You don't hear a word. I'm like by far the loudest person here. You see people on scooters. It's like any business district in the United States or Europe. Now, outside of this bubble, it's not so good. I don't think Chileans recognize this, but there has been a lot of social decline. This is my first time in Chile, but I can just tell that there's been a lot of social decline, and I've read up a little bit on it. In 2019, they tried to change their constitution. The radical left in the country tried to change it twice. It didn't pass, but it's created it's created problems, social problems. There's a lot of petty crime, a lot of people getting robbed. There's a lot of graffiti. There's a lot of crackheads outside of this neighborhood. So that's why you want to stay in this neighborhood. This is by far the best neighborhood I've seen in the city. I spent a whole entire day walking around Santiago, which you can see the nice areas in one day. I started from the center, and then I Ubered out to this park, I want to say Aruanco. I'll write it in the description. And then I just took a scooter all the way through the west side, and then I took an Uber to Barrio Italia. So I saw pretty much every neighborhood that they recommend you to stay at. And this one is probably the best if you're going to spend a few days. They say Barrio Italia is so nice. Not really. It's pretty normal. It's not that fun. Basically, it's not. No, I haven't been anywhere that fun. I went to Viña del Mar for like a week, and it was not fun. You would think that their beach town, Viña del Mar is their beach town, which has nice, it's like Pacific coastal beach, super cold water, but it's blue water. It looks like, maybe San Francisco, but with bluer water. It feels like that. It's kind of chilly. It was really, really, really boring. Like, we didn't see any clubs. There was no festive spirit. There were a lot of crackheads. And then the nearby cities had a lot of graffiti. So, again, it's like a California. There's a lot of social decline here, and it's probably recent social decline. So the Chileans, they need to wake up. Because when they comment, they're like, oh, we're the best, blah, blah, blah. Not really. Argentina is a lot more civil than Chile from like in 2026, from what I can see, right? Even Mexico City. This is like a little bubble we're in right now. And it's not like this in other parts of the city. This is the nicest it gets. Look, we have Deloitte. Oh, corporate slave. Where are the corporate slaves? Are you still working at 10 p.m.? Are you gonna get that bonus? Corporate slave. Maybe Chile is a country of corporate slaves. Am I wrong? That's it's giving corporate slave. That's what I'm getting from Chile, and that's a result of the free market. The free market creates corporate slaves. Argentina, there not too many corporate slaves there, and it has more pizzazz and it has more character. So there's always a good balance. Everyone's like capitalism, socialism. Guys, there's always a good balance. And the issue with socialism is it just creates like a highway, like a direct sort of like suction cup to just extract resources from the public. That's the problem with socialism always. It's corrupt. Meritocracies perform a lot better, which is what Chile essentially is. It's a meritocracy. It's like, if you're good at it, then you will be in the position of what you are best at. Socialism doesn't work that way. Socialism is, are you the senator's son or daughter? Then you will have this position. It's a lot more nepotistic. And then they'll trick you like, oh, we're going to let the poor people do some stuff. But actually what we're going to do is we're going to tax everyone making any money and then buy votes. This is what happens every time in every socialist country. We're going to go ahead and overtax everyone and then pay people to not work, hoping that they procreate more kids that will vote for us and create a population of people dependent on us that vote for us. That's what happened in Brazil with Lula right now, Bolsa Familia. Now people can make the argument, and he did have some successful runs in the mid 2000s with creating Bolsa Familia, but it's gone a little too far where you have created, the favelas have increased in Brazil since the year 2000. There's more favelas, more people living in favelas now than there were in 2000 when Lula started doing Bolsa Familia, which is like basically they pay you to they just pay you to have kids. Like the more kids you have, it's like Section 8 in the United States. It's like the more kids you have, the more money you get, and it incentivizes you to just have more kids. So there's a whole population in Brazil like this. Argentina under Cristina Kirchner had the same exact same scenario, and then Biden in the United States tried to create the same scenario then by just like letting illegal immigrants flood into the States. They don't want voter ID. If you look at the most recent vote on voter ID, for some reason, Democrats don't want voter ID. They don't want you knowing who's voting. Okay, that's not suspicious. So these leftist figures, they always create a scheme to buy voters and pretty much funnel and finance their corruption. And they are heavily corrupt. Whereas the free market has many issues as well. If you're a purely free market, and this is what happened when Brazil collapsed in 1985, 1986, their military regime collapsed, and then the free market took over some parts of their government, such as music, and then music just started to suck in Brazil because the sort of authoritarian regime governed exactly what kind of music would be financed. And like that was a way for Brazil to exert their soft powers as like, okay, we are a cultured country. Us, the government, we are investing into music that markets us favorably on the international stage. And then the free market took over, and they're like, okay, the free market is like, and then it's not always purely the free market. There's all the other figures like NGOs playing a role in this. Like, okay, now instead of making Brazil look good with our bossa nova and our MPB, actually the market prefers songs about sex and short-term gains. So that's why you see these Anitas. That's why you see, whenever you see music from Brazil, not all the time, actually most of the time, it's based around sex and drugs. So the free market has some cons as well. There's always a good balance. Chile is a very good example of the free market being the correct option. I mean, just look around. This is the best of Chile. Where Chile falls short, and I don't think this has much to do with economics, and I just said this earlier in the video, I think it's because it's just from the get-go, they just were a super serious country. They were just about the books, a paper company. Like, they document everything, they do everything correctly, and that was just the character of Chile from the beginning. They were never really the fun Latin country. They were always the serious Latin country. And with that being said, I don't think it's a great place for vacation. For business, if I had to do business with a Latino, I would definitely need to learn more about the Chileans, but it looks like I would prefer doing business with Chileans over, of course, many other Latin American countries. We'll just put it at that. But yeah, overall, Chile, a terrible value vacation destination, but a very stable economy and with polite people. Is that fair to say? Is that rude? I don't think that's rude. Go ahead and subscribe if you like my videos. We're growing the YouTube channel this year, posting regularly. I'm posting at least weekly, multiple times a week actually, and we're gonna go ahead and grow our YouTube this year in 2026. Here in Chile.